Hey guys, I'm Chris Buck and a very warm welcome to Friday Fretworks, and this week we're taking a look at the classic sound of the Leslie speaker. Now, it seems a little bit of a bizarre contradiction that in a time when there are now more ways than ever of emulating the classic sound of a guitar running through a Leslie speaker cabinet, you don't seem to hear the effect used at least all that often in popular music. For an effect that absolutely dominated the airwaves throughout the 1960s, 70s and even into parts of the 80s, it seems to have suffered a little bit of a fall from grace in recent years. Now, there are any number of reasons why this could be the case, but in today's video I thought it would be a cool opportunity to take an objective look at the effect, its origins, its place in rock music, and whether it's likely to make a comeback. The Leslie speaker was designed in the late 1930s by one Don Leslie and was intended to be paired with a Hammond organ to recreate that quivering three-dimensional sound that you associate with the sound of an organ, whether it's in a church or maybe even a movie hall.
My one goal way back was if you could only have a pipe organ in your house that would sound like a pipe organ, sound beautiful, that would be my one goal in life.
Now, famed for its unwieldy large nature, it's often compared to the size of a large fridge. A Leslie speaker consists of three components. You have a high frequency horn, a woofer, and a crossover to separate the frequencies. The woofer points down into a spinning drum which disperses the low frequencies, whilst at the top of the speaker a spinning dual horn going in the opposite direction disperses the high frequencies. And such was the success of this new invention, especially with organists. Famously, Leslie actually had no need to even market the product. Such was the power of word of mouth and the love of this new invention that he was struggling to keep up with demand. However, it wasn't until at least the mid-1960s that the Leslie speaker saw arguably more innovative use. Now, there's some debate online in regard to who the first guy was to plug his guitar into a Leslie speaker. However, it seems to be commonly accepted for the most part that it was in fact Buddy Guy in 1965 recording with Junior Wells on the album Hoodoo Man Blues. So the story goes that Buddy's amp actually blew up mid-session, which led to the engineer on the recording plugging Buddy's guitar into the organist Leslie whilst his guitar amp was repaired in the control room. However, if it was Buddy Guy that first realised this potential, it was surely the Beatles that maximised it, using it on guitar tracks on the likes of Let It Be, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Something and Blue Jay Way. They also used it famously on vocal tracks and piano tracks on Tomorrow Never Knows and You Like Me Too Much, respectively. Now, on this next track, I'm going to be jamming along on I Want You, She's So Heavy, using the Leslie speaker on both guitar tracks. On the rhythm track, I'm running through Native Instruments guitar rig using the Leslie speaker on a fast setting, and on the lead part, again through Native Instruments guitar rig with the Leslie on a slow setting. Sounds a little bit like this. Needless to say, the Beatles' prolific use of the effect led to an explosion in its popularity, near enough overnight. Jimi Hendrix famously used it on Little Wing and Angel in 1967, Beach Boys on Pet Sounds, Frampton Comes Alive. The mid-section on Badge by Cream is about as typical Leslie sound on a guitar as you will ever wish to hear. Led Zeppelin, Santana, Stevie Ray, any number of guys throughout the next 2 to 3 decades, you couldn't turn left nor right without hearing at least one Leslie guitar part on an album. One incredibly prolific user of the effect is of course David Gilmour, who over the years has used an array of Yamaha, Leslie, Maestro and even Doppler rotating speakers, from anything to guitar to vocals. Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, even much later records like the Division Bell all feature the effect very heavily. Now recently one of my favourite effects pedal designers, Dorna Prince out of Croatia, have designed the Pulse pedal, which specifically is aimed at his later Maestro kind of Doppler sound, which to my ear at least is a little bit more phasey, a little bit more flangey I guess than your typical Leslie speaker. You're going to hear that on this next clip. It's no surprise there are such a glut of incredible options when it comes to trying to recreate this iconic sound. The original Leslie units are famously expensive and incredibly heavy and hard to carry around. In fact, David Gilmour, using the Maestro and Doppler speakers, was inspired by his want to take something out on the road that was in essence a little bit more portable. However, despite all of these incredible options today, there seems to be at least a little bit of a disconnect in regard to the availability of the effect and how much you actually hear it on record. Effects that emerged both before and after the Leslie's invention are still incredibly prevalent in today's music, whether we're talking fuzz, reverb, delay, wah-wah, tremolo. Any number of effects seem infinitely more popular for whatever reason, and it says a lot that when asked, a lot of people reference Soundgarden's massive hit Black Hole Sun from the 1990s as a more recent use of the Leslie effect. Who knows what the future holds for the Leslie speaker, but it is interesting to look at the arc or the trajectory of an effect like chorus, which throughout the 1980s and early 1990s was pretty ubiquitous. You couldn't turn left nor right for it being plastered all over pretty much every record that was made throughout that era, arguably to the point where it was overused, because in the 2 decades that followed, it kind of disappeared into obscurity. However, it is interesting to see that in more recent times with artists like Paolo Nutini or Ryan Adams, Baroness, or even the likes of Daft Punk, it has seen a bit of a resurgence. Hopefully something similar happens with the Leslie speaker, or at least their emulations. I for one definitely don't want to be carrying one round. As ever, thank you very much for watching. This is Friday Fretworks. I'm Chris Buck. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't already, and I shall see you next week for another episode. Cheers guys, take care, I'll see you soon.